available to that magic number of 8 because we've always said it needs 8% of the money to really make a dent in poverty. So my thoughts are very positive. I think we can see that India is overhelp, is on a trajectory to real growth, and that there's actually opportunities to accelerate growth further with deepening reforms.
We suppose that this has already, kind of accounted for the unseasonal rains impact, but not really for the rain shortfall, so to speak. How do you see this number kind of behaving over a period of time in the current financial?
Well, they're projections, so they're not certainties. So we know unseasonal rains were there, and that has been taken into account. Now there's the expectation of maybe a supply monsoon, but we don't actually know that they will have a supply monsoon, so it's very difficult to say that we have to take that into account. And more importantly, the impact of disappointing monsoon on farmers would be significant. On GDP would be significantly less because the agricultural part of GDP growth is not so big. So I would see that more as a social problem, which very importantly needs to be addressed with. Less as a gigantic risk for GDP. It's a downside risk, but also upside risk. Continued reform momentum would easily outweigh any risk on the monsoon. So I think it's important to realize that what we need to focus on in these unseasonal rains as concerned is how do you cushion the impact on farmers, which is a very important policy issue that the government is looking into.
Mr. World Bank being bullish on India. A price of Apple has never been more juicy, and not because of its stellar performance in the second quarter of the financial year. The technology giant cash pile has jumped to a historic high. Dividend payouts are the highest ever in the United States history, and the company's added China in its crown jewel. TV18's Arundhati Ramanan has that story.
When Tim Cook took over from Apple's co-founder, chairman, and CEO Steve Jobs in 2011 as CEO, everyone knew he had some big shoes to fill. And while Cook may have had a patchy start, no one can deny that he has succeeded in ensuring that Apple deserves to be the most valuable company in the world. No, we're not just talking about a $760.4 billion market capitalization, which roughly equals that of Microsoft and Google combined. Going by the latest quarterly numbers, Apple's growth figures also trump these two giants. For one, Apple's second quarter revenues have jumped 27% from a year ago to $58 billion. That's 50% more than Microsoft's $21.7 billion and Google's $17.3 billion put together. Two, Apple grew more than twice as fast as search giant Google and 4 times as fast as Microsoft. Apple's net income soared by 33% to $13.6 billion against Google's 4% to $3.6 billion. Microsoft's net income, meanwhile, actually dropped 12% to $5 billion. But this is not the portion of Apple's balance sheet that's turning heads. It's the fact that Apple can make creases weep. Apple now boasts of a cash pile of a mammoth $194 billion against $178 billion in the previous quarter. That's $33 billion in cash and short-term investments and $160.4 billion in long-term investments. And over $171 billion of this total cash pile is located offshore. This is more than any other non-financial company in the S&P 500 by a mile, with Microsoft's $107 billion a distant second and Google's $67 billion feeling like petty change. Now for the icing on the cake, this cash pile will line investor pockets.
We're in the very fortunate position of generating more cash than we need to run our business and keep making these important investments. So today, we're announcing another significant update to our capital return program, expanding its size to $200 billion through March of 2017 to reflect our strong confidence in what lies ahead for Apple.
So Apple will now write dividend checks for $12.1 billion a year, topping ExxonMobil's $11.6 billion. For this, shareholders can thank China. Greater China, which is mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, led past Europe to become Apple's second largest market in revenue terms. Revenues from this region jumped 71% to $16.8 billion, leaving the $12.2 billion in revenues from Europe panting in the dust. This is the closest China revenues have come to that from the Americas, which stands at $21.3 billion. But while the U.S. remains Apple's most lucrative market, history has been created with more iPhones being sold in Greater China than in the home market. And with Apple actively broadening its product pipeline and the Apple Watch seeing some strong interest across the globe, Cook may be on a winning recipe here. In Mumbai, Arundhati Ramanan.
$194 billion. One has to wonder what is Apple going to be doing with all that cash. That's what India's traveling. Everyone's having their business out from Delhi to Bengaluru. DLF troubles only mounting. We'll tell you why on the other side of this break. DLF remains at war with many of the buyers across the National Capital Region and now Bengaluru. A coordinated protest of buyers of 3 residential projects come together demanding possession of their homes as well as a more fair and equitable treatment from the realty major. Here's that report. Angry and frustrated buyers of DLF protesting outside the company's headquarters in the national capital last weekend. This protest was coordinated by buyers of 3 residential projects in Bengaluru, New Delhi and Manesar. The 3 projects, which include the Capital Greens in New Delhi, Express Green in Manesar and the West End Heights in Bengaluru, are delayed by over 36 months, despite buyers having paid 95% of the sale price. Besides expeditious delivery and compensation for the delay, buyers are also demanding that the company stick to its promises, like providing a clubhouse and other amenities as per the agreement. For example, buyers of the Capital Green project in New Delhi claim they have been denied the late delivery compensation of 10 rupees a square foot, and DLF declared force majeure and extended the delivery timeline from 36 months to 52 months. Letters accessed by CNBC TV18 show DLF invoked force majeure for receiving the requisite government approval 15 months late. Down south in Bengaluru, buyers protested for 6 days, demanding a higher compensation of 25 rupees a square foot as against the 5 rupees a square foot penalty for late delivery in the buyer agreement. They claim financial duress for having to pay EMIs, rent for current accommodation, and the inability to monetize investments in DLF West End Heights due to the inordinate delay by the builder. Both these buyer associations also allege DLF increased the super area and the ultimate ticket price. DLF refused to respond to our queries, but we learned the company's top management has promised to make a counter offer to buyers by 1st of May. With Purnima Mulli in Bengaluru, Ventara Rai in New Delhi. And more on that coming up here on Prime Property over the weekend. Let's get into your short break. On the other side, regulatory issues are reportedly casting a shadow on the stock exchange's listing plan. Details after a short commercial break. Listing a stock exchange in the bourses may take some more time. So the CCK still has said the merger of the equity market regulator with the Foreign Market Commission has given rise to certain regulatory issues that are still being worked out. Prerna Bhaiya has the story.
Exchanges looking to list their shares for trading may have to wait a little longer. SEBI Chairman U.K. Sinha said SEBI is still resolving administrative and oversight issues ahead of its merger with commodity market regulator FMC. He said certain regulatory hitches are yet to be ironed out.
What is going to be the exchange space, especially with the commodities market coming to SEBI? And those exchanges will also technically become a security market exchange. So there are issues around that whether and also the current exchanges in the securities market, since commodity futures are going to be defined as securities, they can also technically demand and be eligible for trading in the commodity futures. So there are a whole lot of issues.
Commodity futures will be defined as securities